Today, we're diving into a really big question, one that gets right to the heart of modern democracy. Can blockchain, the tech behind cryptocurrencies, actually make our votes more secure? Let's take a look at how it could completely change our elections. Think about it. We do our banking online. We shop online. Our whole lives are pretty much online. So why is voting still so analog? Well, the biggest challenge is trust. How do we build a voting system for today's world that everyone, and I mean everyone, can actually believe in? That's the huge problem we're unpacking. All right, let's get into it. To really understand why we're even looking for a new solution, we've got to first talk about the cracks in the systems we're using right now. Look, whether it's old-school paper ballots or the newer electronic machines, both have some pretty well-known weak spots. They can be vulnerable to fraud, to hacking, and to straight-up manipulation. And all that lack of real transparency, it can cause a serious drop in voter confidence, which, at the end of the day, really damages the whole democratic process. So, if the old ways are kind of broken, what's the big new idea? Well, this is where blockchain comes in. It's not just for Bitcoin, not by a long shot. Its fundamental features offer a pretty radical new promise for how we run elections. Let's break down how it works. Okay, so the first killer feature is this idea of decentralization. Think of it like this. Instead of one central server that a hacker can target, a single point of failure, a blockchain voting ledger is copied and shared across thousands of computers. So to cheat the system, a hacker would have to change the record on most of those computers all at the same time. It's practically impossible. And the next big piece of the puzzle is this idea of immutability. And this is a game changer. Once your vote is cast and added to that chain, it is locked in, forever. It can't be secretly deleted or tweaked later on. It's literally like writing it in permanent ink, creating a completely tamper-proof record that anyone can check. And this quote, man, it just nails it. The real power here isn't just that you can cast a vote digitally. It's the absolute guarantee that your vote is final. That once it's in, no one, no middleman, no bad actor can ever mess with it. So when you actually lay it all out side by side, wow. The difference is night and day, right? Traditional systems are all about trusting a central authority, with processes that are often totally hidden from view. Blockchain, on the other hand, offers a system where security is just built right in, transparency is the default setting, and the integrity of every single vote is basically guaranteed by math. Okay, so this all sounds amazing, right? But, and this is a big but, it's not some magic fix for everything. To get the full picture, we have to look at the very real, very significant challenges that are standing in the way of making this happen tomorrow. In fact, the research points to five major hurdles we have to clear. We're talking about being able to handle millions of votes all at once, scalability, making it actually work with the systems we already have, protecting voter privacy, which is huge, the cost of building all this, and making sure that nobody gets left behind just because they're not tech savvy. All right, first up, scalability. Think about a national election. You have millions and millions of people all trying to vote in a really short window of time. That's a massive surge of data. A lot of public blockchains can get really slow and congested under that kind of load. A voting system has to work perfectly, instantly under that kind of pressure. And that is a major technical problem to solve. And then you have this huge dilemma, almost a paradox. We want the vote count to be totally transparent, but the individual voter has to be totally anonymous. So how in the world do you do both on a public record? Well, the answer lies in some pretty advanced cryptography, things with cool names like zero-knowledge proofs, which let the system verify that a vote is legit without revealing anything at all about who cast it. Now, you might be thinking this is all just talk, right? Purely theoretical, but it's not. There are places around the world that have already started to experiment with this. So let's look at some of these real-world trials and see what we can learn. And you can see it right here. This isn't just happening in one corner of the world. Early adoption has been global. Places like Estonia and Switzerland have really been pioneers. But you also see pilot programs popping up in the US, in West Virginia, and in Russia, which just goes to show you there's a ton of interest in this technology. This table gives us a great snapshot. So in Estonia, they've used it successfully for parliamentary elections, and they saw high voter turnout. In Switzerland, a pilot for local elections actually helped increase public trust. And yeah, while West Virginia's trial was pretty limited, it was a really valuable first step in the US. So these cases, they show us it's possible, but they also highlight some very different results. So what's the big lesson here from all these trials? Well, it's pretty clear. The potential is absolutely real, but so are the hurdles. Success isn't just about the technology, it's about making sure the system can handle a national-level election. And just as importantly, that every single voter understands how it works and feels confident using it.
So, where does all this leave us? What does the road ahead actually look like for the future of voting?
Well, the smart way to do this isn't to just flip a switch and change everything overnight. No way. The research says you got to take it step by step. You start small with local elections. You get out there and educate the public. You pour money into research to solve those big challenges like scalability and privacy. And you slowly, gradually build on what's already there. It's an evolution, not a revolution.
And really, that's the bottom line here. Blockchain isn't going to solve every single problem in our democracy. But what it is an incredibly promising tool, a technology that could fundamentally make our elections more secure, more transparent, and more trustworthy. And that's a goal worth fighting for.
Which leaves us with this one huge, fascinating question to chew on. As our world gets more and more digital, will the very foundation of how we govern ourselves, will it eventually be defined not by paper and ballot boxes, but by lines of code on a shared ledger? The debate is really just getting started. Thanks for joining me on The Explainer.